We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for living another day which was not in our control. And many of us, we worship Allah today. Some here are in their 20s, some are in their 30s, some are in their 40s, some older. We worship Allah like we did when we were children. Our bodies have progressed, our bodies have advanced, our bodies have grown. And if we're asked, well, how did your body grow? The answer is, I ate, I was nourished, yes. Physically I grew. And physically for a child to grow, the child has to go through certain stages. So the baby is fed breast milk. And then after breast milk, some pastes are introduced, then solids, and then more complicated foods are introduced later on, yes? And with that, the child grows. With that, the child grows. But if you offered an adult baby formula or baby food, would that be sufficient? We would scoff at it. We would say, what's this? This is not nutritional. This is not nourishing. This is not sufficient. This is a joke. You expect me to live off this? But we continue to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the same worship that we performed when we were 10, when we were 12 or 15, the same worship into our 20s, into our 30s, the same form of worship. We fast into our old age, the same fast that we observed when we were kids. Just make sure you don't eat or drink. And when you're married, then no intimacy. And that's it. There has been no change. And so, if you offer milk to an adult, the adult will starve really, because the milk does not have what is sufficient. And today we are starving our ruh. We starve our spirit of what it needs. We are giving it baby formula, the introductory level worship. And that is not sufficient. That is not satisfactory. And many of us, many people go through crises, yes? So what kind of crises do people go through today? Any, put your hand up, any type of crisis people go through these days. Bereavement, yes, so loss of a friend, of a family member. Yes, what other type of crisis? So mental health, yes? Mental health crisis. They say we're living in a mental health crisis. We're experiencing a mental health crisis today. What other type of crisis do people experience? Financial, yes, a financial crisis, right? There's a cost of living crisis. People are struggling to either heat or eat, which is obviously something that is unimaginable in the UK in the 21st century, that people would have to choose between heating or eating. These are things we never thought we would ever see on these aisles. So there are many crises. There are many crises, yes? Now, what is the nature of a crisis? The nature of a crisis is that it separates you from a blessing. And so the brother mentioned bereavement. So death is a crisis. It separates you from a loved one, from a family member, from a friend. Yes? Also, separation is another crisis. Crisis in that there is divorce, for example. Separation between a couple. Estrangement between family members. There is the crisis of financial crisis, parting ways, being separated from your wealth, being separated from your status. One day a person is a king, the next day he's a pauper. CEO to being on benefits, yes? A high-flying celebrity to being relegated to the dustbin of history, as they say. So crisis is separate. Every crisis that we experience is a form of separation. And the question is, why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribe or create or form such crises in our lives? Why does separation exist? Why? Who can give an answer? Why does separation exist? Why can't good times just last, as they say? Why can't the good times last? Yes. A test for faith, that is true. It is a test of faith. It is a test of faith, but the test has questions. What's the question being asked over here? Right? We always say this is a test, brother, this is a trial, brother, sister, right? Now a test is comprised of questions. What's the question here? The question over here, yes, brother. Oh, the two brothers in my line of sight. Yeah, so yes, with the red turban. Right, so yeah, no matter how difficult the situation is, you should always turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's correct as well. But you can turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in times of ease. You should be able to turn, you should turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with gratitude. But separation, what is it about separation over here? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is ghayur. Do you know what that means? It means Allah is shy. You know, like a wife who doesn't like to share her husband, yeah? She has ghira. You know ghirat? Yes? So she has ghira. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like to share His servant with anyone. And so when you are taken from Allah, when you are distracted from Allah with wealth, with family, with status, with anything that is on offer, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He separates you from it in a form of forced mercy. Because if you continue down that road, you're moving away from Allah. And so He says, where are you going, my servant? The question in the exam paper, in the test, where are you going? Why are you distracted and diverted from me with the blessing? I am the blesser. I gave you the blessing. Thank me and occupy yourself with me, not with the blessing. And if you will not turn to the one who has given the blessing, I'll take the blessing from you because I want you to turn to me. Don't look to anybody else. So this is a form of mercy, an extreme form of mercy and an extreme form of love from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when people say, why do bad things happen to good people? Because Allah wants them to be more good, even better. Because maybe something is distracting them, taking them from Him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like that. Yes? And so, many of mankind, in fact all of mankind, go through one crisis or another. At any point, one of us is experiencing one crisis or another, one form of separation or another. But there is a crisis that everybody is experiencing. And that is the crisis of identity. I don't mean identity crisis that, am I a British Muslim or am I a Muslim living in Britain? The question we used to hear for many years, right? And debates over semantics. Over semantics. There is no race or nationality that is more superior in the sight of Allah. Someone says, brother, you shouldn't say you're a British Muslim. Why, Annie? What's wrong? Are British people inferior to Egyptian people? Are they inferior? Are they an inferior race? No, of course there is. Is there any superior? So what you are saying is, there's a superior race to this one. Just don't attribute yourself to it. You attribute yourself to the land that you live in. And the land belongs to Allah. It doesn't belong to anybody. Yes? I'm not talking about that identity crisis, which really there should be no crisis. The identity crisis, which is, who am I? Who am I? So we are made up of, and you have heard me in the last few months speaking of this and repeating this because it must be repeated, because we must know it and we must teach it. Why? Because the shaitan doesn't want us to know who we are. Because if we don't know who we are, how will we know what our purpose is? And how will we know who placed us here? And how will we know how to interact with the world around us? And how will we know how to achieve the purpose for which we were placed here? So the question as to who we are, we say and we know that we are composed of 5 entities. How many entities? 5 entities. We have a body, we have a mind, we have a heart, we have a nafs, a soul, and we have a spirit, a ruh. So of these 5, the body and the mind and the heart and the nafs and the ruh, which one are we? With a show of hands. Which one are we, guys? Yes. We're the body. The brother over here says, we're the body. Does anybody else have a different answer? Yes. We're the ruh, we're the spirit, right? Any other answer? We're all of them. We're all of them. Okay. Tayyib. But these are components, right? There has to be one main one. The one that's the boss, the one that's in charge, the one that precedes them and will last after them. Heart. We heard heart. Okay, so everybody is offering a different answer. We are, you're saying the soul, so the nafs, right. We are the ruh, the spirit which existed before the other 4 components. The body is made from the earth and will return to the earth. Its life is 60, 70, 80 years. Yes? Or less, or more. But it's temporary. The mind, the intellect is endowed, yes, during as well this life. The heart also is not what we are. The heart is like the software, as we'll see. And the nafs is like it is the desires and the impulses. Yes? It's the desires and the impulses and the emotions, which are all temporal states. But the ruh is what Allah created before these and will continue to live after these. It actually does not die. When we die, our body dies, our mind dies. There are no more manners after death. There's no such thing as a heart. Okay? And there are no more desires. There is reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we don't have a desire for anything except to be saved, except to be safe. But the ruh is what lasts. So what does the body do? Who can tell me? What does the body do? What's its function? The function of the body. Yes. No, things keep the body alive. The body is alive. The body doesn't keep us alive. It needs to be kept alive. What is the role and the function of the body? To let us pray. So prayer is a what? It's an action. So all actions are carried out by the body. All physical actions are performed by the body. The body acts. Yes? The mind. What's the function of the mind? It thinks. So it is the mental self. The body is the physical self. The mind is the mental self. It thinks and it decides. The heart, what is the heart? What's its function rather? To feel? No, the body feels. The body feels. So, the heart, yes? To pump blood, that's its physical function. We're talking here, that's a good, it's a good answer because it literally does pump blood, of course, but we're talking here about the spiritual heart, not the physical heart, the spiritual heart. The heart is the moral self. The body is the physical self. The mind is the mental self. The heart is the moral self. It's where strong values are embedded after repeating them time and time again. So you could call it the unconscious mind, because the mind is the conscious mind. In the mind we have information, We store information and we process it because it's for thinking, right? But we have lots of stored information which has not been installed. It's stored, but it's not installed. So we all know that truthfulness and honesty are virtues. But how many of us have installed truthfulness and virtue and honesty? We all know that generosity is a beautiful trait, but how many of us have installed it? So the heart is the unconscious mind. It's where strong values exist. Yes, Allah can create you and you may be born with good character, with good strong values embedded in your heart already, but normally it requires repetition time and time and time again. That you say the truth time and time and time again, regardless of how difficult it is, regardless of what perilous situation you're in, you say the truth time and time again until it becomes part of your character, because the heart is for character. It is the moral self, meaning it is where character sits. Now you are a truthful person, meaning you don't need to think to say the truth. Vice versa, a person can lie time and time and time again until it becomes habitual. And they cannot say the truth, because whenever you ask them something, the programming that they have installed into their heart is to lie. So we've spoken about the function of the body, the function of the mind, the function of the heart. Now the nafs. The nafs is the emotional self. It is where there are desires. Yes, desires. Desires to eat, to drink, to sleep. Yes, desires for sexual intimacy. But it doesn't have a mind. The nafs doesn't have a mind. The ego, if you like, doesn't have a mind. It just wants. The emotional self wants. And it doesn't care, it doesn't mind where you give it its wants and its desires. And it has emotional states. And what is a state? A state is a temporal the emotions are temporal states. So anger is a temporal state. Sadness, it's a temporal state. So there is a difference between saying somebody is angry and somebody is an angry person. If somebody is angry, it is understood anyway that, something has triggered him, has made him angry, give him some time, he'll calm down. Right? But if you say somebody is an angry person, it means they're always angry. So that is that goes now to the heart. It is their permanent state. It is a strong value embedded in their heart because they have repeated it time and time again. And so the nafs has states, all temporary. I want to eat, I want to drink, I'm sad, I'm upset, I'm grieving, I'm depressed, this, that. And literally, there's just a high turnover of emotions, of feelings, of desires, right? There's no one desire that's just 100% all of the time. Why? Because it's a state. It's not a station. Station is where things settle and they're permanent. Okay? Then there is the ruh. The ruh is from Allah and the ruh is from light, made from light. And it is pure by nature. And it is desperate for its nutrition. And its nutrition is dhikr and worship. And that is the real crisis that we are experiencing, right? After the identity crisis, because we are suffering from an identity crisis, we don't even know that we have a ruh which is desperate for its food. It's desperate for connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so, because it's the mother of all entities, the body, the mind, the heart, the nafs are all supposed to be serving the nafs. Why? To connect it with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is what fasting is supposed to do. Everyone knows how to fast. Very simple. You want to know how to fast? You stop eating, drinking. If you're married, you stop from sexual intercourse. Those three from dawn until sunset. And you abstain from these three and anything that is similar to them. So you can't smoke, you can't vape, okay? right? You can't, for example, if no sexual intercourse and nothing that is similar to sexual intercourse as well, and everybody understands what that means, okay? Those three, that's it. And it's enough to have one intention at the start of the month that you will fast every single day. You don't need to observe an intention every night before suhoor, before sahri. You can just observe one intention at the start of the month, and it's sunnah to renew the intention every night. Okay? That's the fiqh of fasting. Right? In front of me there are no women, so I don't need to talk to you about menstruation. Right? That's the fiqh of fasting. I'm not going to sit here for an hour talking to people time and again about the same topic every single year. In this meantime, right, we're starving our spirit. And that's the real crisis, that we have starved our spirit. Because don't think that the solution is knowledge. The solution is not knowledge. Brother, how do I get close to Allah? You just need to learn a lot. You need to attend courses and whatever. So what does that mean? That means that illiterate people can never get close to Allah then. But why is it that illiterate people, uneducated people, are almost always closer to Allah and purer? They didn't do tajweed, they didn't do aqidah, they didn't do tafsir, they didn't do hadith, they didn't do language, they didn't do any of those. So why are they closer? Because they have learned either just through practice and who they saw around, or just that they attended the right circles, okay, that taught them how to purify their entities, their body, their mind, their heart, and their nafs. And that's why their arwah, that's why their spirits are so lofty and so enlightened. But maybe academically they're not enlightened. And somebody will look down at them and say, these people are not sophisticated. But wallah al-azim, they are ranks above you in the sight of Allah. So why do we insist that we just need to learn and learn and learn? Yeah, you need to learn, but you need to act upon what you learn. But what do we all need to do, whether we have knowledge or not, is we need to know this. That fasting is supposed to purify your entities. Fasting is supposed to purify your body so that your actions are pure. Fasting is supposed to purify your mind so your thoughts are pure. Fasting is supposed to purify your heart so that your character is pure. Fasting is supposed to purify your nafs so that your desires are pure. Because the desires, as we said, the desires can be pure or they can be impure. But it's up to you to decide. It's up to you to decide. And that's why we have agency, that's why we're accountable. Because we have control. We have control over all of these things. So, as we said, fasting is the month that's supposed to reconnect us with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the purification of these organs. Tayyib. What do we think when we hear Ramadan is a week away? What do we think? What are the thoughts that come to mind? Again, with a show of hands. Yes. Excited. MashaAllah, that's a good mindset to have. Very good. What else do people think? Ramadan. Like, what are the thoughts that come to mind straight away? Yes? Taraweeh. In terms of Ramadan itself, not before Ramadan, what you do before Ramadan. When you imagine Ramadan, what do you imagine? Quran. So it's Taraweeh, Quran. What else? Waking up early. Discipline. Yes? Charity. Being a better person. Yes? Yes? Purifying your soul. That's good, right? That's really what I'm looking for. Muhammad. Brotherhood. Okay, so to make more connections with people, that's all very good. Some people think of samosa. It's true. Some people think of that. Some people during the fast, during the day, all day, what are they thinking about? Let's be honest, they're thinking about food. You are fasting and all you're doing is thinking about food. So how do we change that? But there's a consensus here. Quran, waking up early, being disciplined, charity. It's all about doing more. Doing more in the month of Ramadan than you do outside of the month of Ramadan. So I'm going to do 20, if not 20, then 8 rak'at. I'm going to do khatm of the Quran, I'm going to do charity every day, I'm going to read this much, I'm going to do this much dhikr, all of these. But the truth is, almost all of us fail. That's the truth. No one has to say, no one has to admit it. You don't have to. Yeah? Here I am. I'm the first one to admit that I fail. Before Ramadan, I have ambitious targets. In Ramadan, I don't meet them. We all fail. Look, just look around you. First night of Ramadan, Taraweeh, the mosque is buzzing. And why? Because people are, yeah, Ramadan is here. And actually, many people are here just for the vibes. Ramadan vibes. I swear it must have trended one year. Ramadan vibes. Sorry, what do you mean Ramadan vibes? Okay. What does that mean, Ramadan vibes? Even people come here, wal'iyadhu billah, boys come here to see girls, girls come here to see boys. It happens. Yeah, it does. Of course it does. Why? Because it's a meeting spot. It's a place of assembly. And if that is your nature anyway, that outside of the month of Ramadan, wherever there is a great assembly of people, and you know you're going to see the opposite gender, and you know you're going to scout talent, in the month of Ramadan, you're still going to do the same thing. That's the truth, and we've seen it with our own eyes. People come because the band's on the way, and then the band's on the way home when they get the nugget wings and stuff like that. That's what Ramadan's become. So really, as we said, first night, mosque is about to explode, bursting at the seams. And then what? And then fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer people. Then the last 10 nights start, and then you see the mosque filling up again. Then the 27th night comes, and then the mosque is literally like, people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His mercy upon us is that there, alhamdulillah, I've never heard of a stampede or anything like that. But literally, people are glued next to each other, and we're like sardines in a tin. But that's not how the whole month is. So why is that? Because people are not fasting smart. And that's the title of this talk. Smart fast. Smartphone, not this one, it's Chinese tat. It's not that smart anymore, right? Okay, smartphone, smart TV, smart devices. But we don't fast smart, we don't worship smart. We don't. Anyone who goes to the gym knows that sometimes you have people who don't know what they're doing. They put lots of weight on, right, the bar or whatever, and they start just shoving the weight. Doesn't matter about form, doesn't matter about technique. What do they do eventually? What do they do eventually? You're laughing, I think you do that. They fail, right? They injure themselves. And then you got guys who focus on form. And guys and girls as well, right? Who focus on form. So who's better? Why? Because one trained smart and one trained the opposite of smart. Let's not use any rude words. One trained smart and the other did not train smart. So why do we not worship fast? Why do we not worship smart? Why do we not worship fast smart? طيب. This hadith gives us the foundation as to how to fast smart. Anas radiyallahu anhu reports that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam met Abu Dharr, and he said to him, Ya Aba Dharr, ألا أدلك على خصلتين هما أخف على الظهر وأثقل في الميزان من غيرهما. He said, Oh Abu Dharr, shall I not inform you of two qualities, two things that are light on the back? They're easy to do. They're not burdensome. They're not taxing. They're not difficult. وَأَثْقَلُ فِي الْمِيزَانِ مِنْ غَيْرِهِمَا. And they are heavier on the scales than anything else apart from these two. So Abu Dharr is thinking, yeah, of course. What kind of worship is the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam going to tell me to do? What kind of wird is he going to give me, or wadhifa, or amal? What's he going to tell me to do? Like it's going to be something magnificent, right? He's told him that it's easy, Two things. They're easy and they're heavier on the scales, meaning they're more rewarding than anything else after the obligations. After the obligations. Taban, sound belief in Allah, of course, sound belief and then the obligations. What are they? He said, Bala ya Rasulullah, of course, tell me, O Messenger of Allah. He said, عَلَيْكَ بِحُسْنِ الْخُلُقِ. He said, observe good character. وَطُولِ الصَّمْتِ, and observe long periods of silence. فَوَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ مَا عَمِلَ الْخَلَائِقُ بِمِثْلِهِمَا. For by the one in whose hands is my soul, he's swearing an oath by Allah, the creation have not done any good deed better than these two. Are you with me, guys? There is nothing better, nothing heavier on the scale, nothing easier to do, nothing more beloved to Allah after the obligations than to observe good character and long periods of silence. Now, the hadith of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, مَنْ لَمْ يَدَعْ قَوْلَ الزُّورِ وَالْعَمَلَ بِهِ فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ فِي أَنْ يَدَعَ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ. Whoever does not abstain from evil speech and acting upon it, then Allah has no use for that person to leave and abstain from food and drink, meaning while he's fasting. So we've got the hadith of the best two deeds, and we have the hadith over here of the worst fast. The worst fast is the fast where you do not control your tongue and you don't control the actions, meaning you unleash your tongue with evil and you unleash your evil in practice, in action upon the people. Allah doesn't look to that. Allah doesn't want that fast. Keep that fast. I don't need you to go hungry and thirsty because that wasn't the objective. That wasn't the objective. So contrast it with the hadith of the best two traits. Good character and long periods of silence. Look at good character. What is good character? Good character is that you leave people in a better state, feeling better than when you met them. Again, that you leave people in a better state and feeling better than when you met them. It doesn't have to cost you anything. It can be a good word. It can be a smile. It can be some gentleness. It can be mercy. It can be some compassion. It can be just time. Give them time. They just want somebody to listen to their troubles, to hear them out. That's it. It doesn't cost you anything. Good character. And the beauty of good character, unlike money, for example, money only goes so far. You can't help everyone with your money. But you can help everyone, and everyone benefits from your good character. Everyone benefits from good character. Good character is that you leave somebody, when you leave somebody in part ways, they miss you. They long for you. They can't wait to see you again. How many of us leave people and they say, oh, good riddance? Right? We know people like that, and we are like that to some people. That's the truth. Good character is that people don't want you to leave. Oh, please don't leave. And when you leave, Jazakumullah khairan, when can we next see you? Right? That's good character. That you benefit people. That you bring people comfort and ease and happiness. Right? And that's the opposite to al-amal bih, acting upon evil speech. There's speaking evil and there's acting evil. That's the opposite. So what does Allah then, therefore we should understand, what kind of fast does Allah want from us? He wants from us a fast where we observe good character. Where we observe good character. Allah does not want a fast, He does not want a Ramadan where you harm and you inconvenience people. People think, oh, the month of Ramadan, the month to get close to Allah. And in the process of getting closer to Allah, they trample over the creation. Speaks poorly to his wife, is snappy with her, loses his temper with the kids, yes? Pushes his way to the front line, elbowing people on the way and stepping on their feet and on their hands and on their clothes to get to the front row. I need to get to the front row. Yeah, because the reward is greater. And in you attaining that reward, how many sins did you incur so that you can attain that reward? Sorry, Uncle, I wasn't pointing at you, right? How many sins did that person, poor timing, honestly. How many sins did that person incur on the way to attaining more reward? Allah is not going to look at you in the front row and say, I'm pleased with you, my servant. You've hastened to me. No, you've trampled over the people to get there. Yes? In reading Quran, he thinks month of Ramadan, month of Quran. It is the month of Quran. Read lots of Quran. Somebody says something to him, his tongue is sharp. His tongue is poisonous, but fragrant when he recites Quran. That Quran will say to him, do you not understand me? Do you not know what I'm telling you? You're reading me and you don't even know what I'm saying, what I'm telling you. You are like the verse in which I say that there are people who are like donkeys, who carry loads on their back. If a donkey carried in an encyclopedia on its back, does the donkey benefit from it? No, it doesn't. And how many people are like donkeys? They might memorize Quran, recite Quran, do lots of work. It's all there, but they don't benefit from it. They don't benefit from it. So those people are not fasting smart. They're not worshipping smart. That is literally pouring water into a bucket that you have made holes in. You have made these holes. You weren't conned. You were given a bucket that was in a sound state and you pierced holes in it and you continue to pour water in. Long periods of silence. Long periods of silence. You know, these two, good character, long periods of silence, are the worship of the lazy. And that means everyone can do them. That's the point. The Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said, these two are light on the back and heavy on the scales. Lighter on the back than any other good deed and heavier on the scale than any other good deed after the obligations. What does that mean? What's that telling us? The Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is telling us, all of you can do it. All of you can do it. Who can't stay silent? It's effortless. It takes effort to speak. It burns calories to speak. But for you to remain silent, it's effortless. And look, in the month of Ramadan, you see these two, the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told Abu Dharr this, instructed him outside of the month of Ramadan. Imagine the multiplication of reward in Ramadan when you observe these two. So what's more important? What's more important? That you exert yourself with more salah, more charity, more recitation of the Quran. But those two you have not done. Those two you have not done. So you are building on a weak foundation. You're building on sand. You're pouring water into a bucket with holes in it. So really, if you were not to do anything additional in the month of Ramadan, but you maintained those two, good character and long periods of silence, that would actually be sufficient for you. Not just sufficient, it will be more rewarding for you than anything else. Now I want you to imagine that your body is like a car. Now we should be traveling to the pleasure and to the closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now imagine your body is a car. Yes? The car requires fuel. The fuel is taqwa. Taqwa is what? pushes you. The more taqwa you have, the more fuel, the faster you can go, the longer distance you can go. The longer the distance you can travel to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you know fuel has components, right? Fuel has, even water is H2O, hydrogen and oxygen. So it's not just one element, yes? What are the components then of taqwa? The components of taqwa are, as we mentioned in our previous khutbah, that you give preference to the command of Allah. You give preference to the sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You have compassion and mercy upon the creation, and that you have the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with you 24 hours a day. In all your states, you are conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He's with you, that He sees you, and that He hears you. Yes? And we can speak about those four in detail at a different time, insha'Allah. But refer back to the khutbah, and there is some mention of them. Yes? And so, how do you make your car stronger and more resilient in this travel? If you want a car that can withstand a journey, a long and perilous journey, you need a well-built car. A runaround is not going to work. You need a well-built car. And what does the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said? He said, "As-sawmu junnah." Fasting is a protective shield. Junnah, yes, is a shield. You know, in war, they carry a shield. Fasting is a shield. So this protective shield is what will help you to reach your destination, right? Because you know, if you're not careful and you leave the windows open or the door open of your car, what happens? If it's raining, the water gets in. If it's windy, all the debris is blown in. And if it's a dangerous area, even if it's not a dangerous area, it will tempt somebody to steal from your car. You invite thieves. And so our organs, we have to take care of our organs. We said our body, we need to take care of our body. So our body here. How do we take care of our body so that we don't invite the thieves, we don't invite evil into our body? Our body, there are only 7 ways in which we do good deeds or sins come in. They come in from the eyes, and from the tongue, and from the ears, and from the hands, from the stomach, from the feet, and from the private parts. If you can protect these, then your body is safe. Your car is safe. Lock the doors, lock the windows. Your car is safe, your body is safe. Now you can travel to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we said that we're going to talk about the smart fast, not the extreme fast. Many people do extreme fast. We don't want an extreme fast, we want a smart fast. What's the smart fast? Where are we now on taqwa? Many people like myself with many sins and, struggling, okay? Maybe our tank is on empty. Maybe our tank is on empty. There's no taqwa. So, Ramadan, I want you to consider fasting as levels. Yes? Level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. Levels of fasting in Ramadan. And I want you now to be conscious that you are going to pick one of these levels to observe during the month of Ramadan. Yeah? That's smart fasting. And I keep saying smart, and maybe few people have clocked on to smart, what it stands for. S is for specific. You have to choose one of these levels. Be specific in what it is in your target, what you want to achieve. You want to achieve a Ramadan like no other, then be specific in your target. So you're going to choose one of these 5 levels, which I'll explain and describe. M, measurable. You need to be able to measure your progress. You need to be able to measure your progress. And when you have set targets, you know how to measure and track and chart your progress. And A, achievable. It needs to be something you can do, not something another person can do. something you can do, and realistic, meaning that within that your body can withstand this, and the tea timely. You have 30 days. If it's an open-ended task, you never really achieve it. You need a deadline. So timely, you have 30 days to achieve this, and we'll see how. So level one, for those who need to fuel up the tank of taqwa, right? Level one is that you observe the legal fast, meaning you abstain from food and drink and intimacy from dawn until sunset. And in addition to that, you pray Taraweeh. And obviously the obligations, the 5 obligatory prayers. You fast, you pray the obligatory prayers, and you pray Taraweeh. That, if you have never done that before, that's your entry level. The next levels don't concern you. Yes? If you have never done these before, to pray your 5 prayers, to fast a legally valid fast, and to pray Taraweeh, right? If you have never done that before, you know, a week goes by without you praying Taraweeh, you skip a few prayers during the day, you don't fast all of the. If you have never done that all, that's your level, level 1. And that will take you to 1 on the gauge. You see there's a fuel gauge, right? Sometimes there are numbers, okay? So that will take you to 1. Level 1 of taqwa. So level 1 is your fast. The level of fast you need to observe if you've never done these is level 1. Okay, I do that. I do that as a minor. I pray Alhamdulillah. I fast a proper fast. And I pray Taraweeh every night in Ramadan. Good, Alhamdulillah. Then level 2. Level 2 is that you, in addition to level 1, you will monitor your tongue and your eyes and your feet. So you will refrain from the sins of the eyes, and you'll refrain from the sins of the tongue. And we said that's the most prolific sinner, right? So if you can look after your tongue, that's very good. And your feet, meaning that you don't take yourself to any place that is haram. Simple as. So in addition to level 1, you will add your eyes and your tongue and your feet. That's level 2. If you can observe that throughout the month of Ramadan, your level of taqwa goes up, boop, to level 2. Level 3 is that you observe all the previous levels, the prayer and the fast and Taraweeh, yes, and you are conscious and you prevent the sins of all the 7 organs. So the eyes and the tongue and the ears and the hands and the feet and the stomach and the private parts. None of these you will sin with during the month of Ramadan. That's very good, level 3. That's very good. All right, what's even better than that? That now, you see, what have we mentioned so far? We've mentioned blocking off the entry to sins. But these organs also do good deeds. So for level 4, I am going to use my organs to practice good deeds. To practice good deeds, meaning what? I will give some charity with my hand. I will recite Quran with my tongue. I will look and reflect over the marvels and the wonders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I will walk to the masjid. I will only consume halal. I will only listen to words that are pleasing to Allah, and I won't listen to any backbite or anything like that. Yes? So now because you have, first of all, you have purified your organs, right? Say now, alhamdulillah, you're a person, you don't commit sins with any of you don't commit any sin. Now use them for good, level 4. And in addition to that, now you start to bring in your heart. What do you do with your heart? Now with your heart, you start to call Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with your heart in worship. So your worship has to be elevated. Now I start to talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in my worship. Now I'm present with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in my worship. And that's level 4. Level 5, in addition to everything we have mentioned, that you observe a legally valid fast, you observe the 5 obligatory prayers, you pray Taraweeh, all your 7 organs, you stop them from sinning, and you use them to do good deeds, and your heart is involved in your worship. Now for level 5, you block and you abstain from any sinful thoughts. What does that mean? It means that you do not deliberately entertain any sinful thought. Sometimes you get a thought fleeting, but what happens? There are 2 things that you can do. You can ignore it. In ignoring it, you can resist it as well. Resistance is difficult though for entry level purification. Resistance is difficult. So if you have a sinful thought, think of something that's permissible. Think of something that's permissible. So that you move your mind off it. Or you entertain the thought. You carry on with it. Yes? And so level 5 is that you do not use your mind to entertain any sinful thoughts. And there are more levels. But these five, those sat here today, those listening online, or those who will listen later, you have to choose one of them. We said be specific. The smart fast, S is for specific. Choose one level that you know it's achievable, it's realistic, and I can do it within the month of Ramadan. Right? And it's measurable. What do we mean now by measurable? How can I measure my progress? You chart it. You have a chart with the days of Ramadan, 30 days, and the level that you have chosen. Yes? And so for that level, what you do at the end of every day, if you have maintained that level of fast, what you do is you put a tick. So, first day tick, second day tick. Let's say on the 5th day, you violated one of the organs. So you committed a sin with one of the organs. Or what do you do then? Or if you were in level 5, you thought of a sin. And you entertained the thought, meaning you left it in your mind and you carried on thinking about it. You put a cross. Then you do tawbah, and then you start again the next day. And you carry on that process. Now, obviously Ramadan is 30 days. Maybe you have 3 goes, 4 goes. The days of Ramadan are finished. By the end, you may have accumulated 5 days in a row. 5 days in a row by the end of Ramadan, I have maintained the level, one of the 5 levels of fast, which I committed myself to. What I do now is I need to do 30 days. So the remainder, let's say 25, now I'm going to observe them throughout the year. So with that, observing it at that level of fast, which I committed to, because I need to reach the level of taqwa, which I wasn't at before. So let's say you only did 5 by the end of Ramadan. Yes, now you have 30. And Allah's mercy is that, you take your car in for an MOT. Well, there are times of the year where you can do MOT for yourself. So you have Shawwal, 6 days in the month of Shawwal. You've got Dhul Hijjah, the best days of the year. You've got Muharram as well, start of the year. You've got Rajab afterwards. And if you don't make Rajab, then Sha'ban. And so, all in all, you make up 30 days. And if Allah blesses you for you to live till the next Ramadan, you observe the next level of fast. So, dear brothers and sisters, we have an opportunity this Ramadan to make our fast an experience like one we've never had before. And this is really what we should try to achieve, to transform our fast, to transform our Ramadan, to make it a Ramadan like no other, a fast like no other. But really, it's not achieved by wishful thinking. This Ramadan, I'm going to make it a different Ramadan. You have to have a specific objective, specific target. You need to be able to measure your progress. It has to be achievable. It has to be realistic. Yes? And it has to be timely. It has to be timely. And nobody climbs Everest with one leap. If you want the taqwa of the awliya, of the friends of Allah, then it's not with a leap. You take one step at a time. And as we said, you have to take your first step now. Don't look to the level 5 which we mentioned if you've never observed Ramadan or a fast like level 1 or 2 or 3. Yes? Look at where you are now and what you need now. And that way you can achieve something this Ramadan and throughout the year. And if Allah extends your life and blesses us to be able to observe and witness the Ramadan after next, then we add to that another level. And you know what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, "Oh, you have believed, fasting has been prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you, so that you may attain taqwa." Allah did not say fasting in the month of Ramadan was prescribed for you to attain taqwa. He just said fasting. That means that if you want at any time throughout the year, you want to bump up to another level than the one that you were at in Ramadan, you can do that throughout the year. You can do that throughout the year. And that is because the fast itself, not just Ramadan, the fast itself is prescribed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, again as we said, in order to purify our bodies so that our actions are pure, to purify our minds so that our thoughts are pure, to purify our hearts so that our character is pure, and to purify our nafs so that our desires are pure. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to purify our bodies and our minds and our hearts and our nafs. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this Ramadan the best Ramadan, a Ramadan like no other, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aid us and help us to observe a smart fast this Ramadan, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refine our characters and aid us in controlling our tongues and observing long periods of silence. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.